Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversation with Sam. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Partha S. Ghosh as our chief guest. Dr. Ghosh is a globally respected strategist, futurist, and former partner at McKinsey and Company. He's often described as a modern day Renaissance man. Dr. Ghosh has advised corporate and government leaders in 30 plus countries and is known for his creative problem solving and his visionary future. This week's session, we continue to explore the topic of new economy, and we'll focus on to continue with to discuss on the transformative concept of cellularism. Without further ado, I would now request Dr. Ghosh to introduce the concept of cellularism to our new listeners and to summarize what we discussed in the last episode. So, over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Uh, it is a very, very special honor to be part of this group where you're exploring new frontiers, new ways to connect with the world, given that indeed we are at a point in history where what has worked over the last 500 years may have run out of steam. So we need new energy, new thoughts, new lens, new calculus to look at the future. So I would quickly summarize what we discussed last time. I think I touched on it was an extempo talk, but if I recall, I touched on 7 points. The first point is exactly what I said, that we have come to a point when we need to reflect very hard on where we are, how the equations of the past are working or not working. As a result, what might be the equations of the future. And I think the topic that I talked about was we are at a point of inflection. So we cannot extend linearly to the future. We have to think of new S curves, new curves, which are different from the past. The second point I think we talked about that when you look at the two debates which has occurred over the last 200 years, capitalism versus socialism, both seem to have again run out of steam. When you look at socialism with the collapse of Soviet Union and the Eastern European countries, even in a country like India, which tried to play with socialism in name of mixed economy, really did not engage to serve the people. And capitalism, as you could see in the United States, in many parts of the world, the divide between the rich and the poor, the wealth gap has continued to increase. And that, in fact, led to what I call the Occupy Wall Street movement in 2007, 2008, which we are very familiar with. And there are a lot of anger in different societies, whether you look at United Kingdom, United States, different parts in Europe, there is a gap very visible, let alone the developing countries where the gaps are even more visible. South Africa being the extreme, where the Gini index is almost 67. Those of you may not be familiar with Gini index. It is a measure of the gap between rich and poor. Higher the number, more is the gap. The lowest, by the way, is countries like Finland, Sweden, Norway, where it is about in the lower teens or higher teens, I would say. It used to be in the lower teens. So clearly, capitalism, socialism doesn't work. We need newism, and that would lead to my thought on cellularism, which I'll come in a moment. Then I talked about the third point last time, that in spite of so many great thought leaders which has evolved over the last 300 years from Adam Smith to all the Nobel Prize winners in economics, why has not the subject of economics not been able to deliver? And both the concepts that we just discussed have failed. So I personally believe, and obviously it would be a bit of an unpopular statement, but I will make it. I believe that the discipline of economics have gotten trapped in the Newtonian physics concept. And in fact, under the shadows of Newton and John Locke, Adam Smith grew up. And then came a series of economists who started to look at physics as a source of inspiration for economics. So we started looking for cause effect relationship and started looking at human beings and objects. So when an object falls from the sky, the law of gravity works. Similarly, we start thinking of the invisible hand, the force of market force will create the equilibrium. So we started looking at the subject of economics is a subject of equilibrium, a subject where you look for patterns where in the x-axis you create an incentive, y-axis is the output. But human beings are not commodities. They have emotions, they have different cultural nuances, they have different preferences. Everyone would not act to the same incentive the same way. And that's where I personally believe, and that's what we discussed last time in more details, that the subject of economics itself needs to be reimagined, rethought, and it has to become human centric. That leads to my fourth point: what is an human centric economic model? And there I think I talked about 3 points. The first point was about Adam Smith is to talk about the power of self interest. I talk about the power of self expression. And there's a difference. Self interest, if put to the extreme, and particularly when you integrate with Charles Darwin's survival of the fittest, you basically become selfish. Whether you want to survive, and the message is survival of the fittest. And if you combine that with self interest, obviously that leads to selfishness, which has kind of worked in our societies in various negative ways. The second point I made last time was the importance of, instead of thinking of survival of the fittest, think of the fitness of nature. So our engagement, the civilization's engagement with nature, has to be significantly more enriching, significantly more synergistic, so that the balance between nature and the humanity, after all, we are part of the nature, and we have to strike this nice ecological balance, which is perhaps lacking today. In fact, not perhaps, it is lacking today. We know about the climate change, we know about the floods, the droughts, the extreme weather conditions that we face almost every day. So that's the second point. And the third point of the new construct has to be, economics have always been viewed in a very mathematical sense. We have to look at economics from a more emotional, psychological development sense. Nation building is about developing the culture of the country so that we could create not only an equitable society, a society which looks beautiful. So that has to be, and is a continuous nurturing process so the flower keeps on blooming and never dies. So that was my fourth point. And then I think I talked to fifth point was cellularism. The cellularism is an idea which kind of got prompted in my mind when I was living in Japan, particularly when I went to small towns. I talked about a place called Arita, place called Imarai, place called Kanazawa, and each of these small towns, or which used to be villages, literally, built up a beautiful economy based on their own ecosystem, maybe the local soil conditions, local mud, local culture, and in the process gave birth to multi-billion-dollar industries. In fact, when I go to Arita, 30% of the population moving around are foreigners. Why? They have come to Arita to see how porcelain and ceramic, the best porcelain and ceramic, are made in the world. Similarly, you go to Kanazawa, we see gold leaf work, where they do very fine work on gold leaves. And from there, the precision engineering of Japan has developed. Then, if you go to the northern part of Japan, there you see the fermentation technology. A long time ago, Japanese developed the sake based on fermentation, natto, which is soybean fermented, which is a major food in Japan, very healthy, by the way. But that those have become huge industries. And when I see the modern industry in Japan, they are kind of products of, not that they were imposed from the West. They took those ideas from the West, but built it around those fundamental cultures which fermented, no pun intended, fermented in Japan over the last 500, 700 years. So that is my concept of cellularism, that which again Mahatma Gandhi used to talk about Sarvada, village centered, economic development. To Sarvada, as you know, means uplift of all. Sarva, all, the uplift. And the concept is based on that if every village in the world, every village in India could connect with their local ecosystem, local culture, local skills, and that is gradually given shape, you create multiple centers of economic excellence. And that is the right economic setup, and particularly today, more than what Mahatma Gandhi could think of in 1920s, early 20s, and today we are in 2020s. The difference is we have the internet, we are connected, we're hyper connected, as Sam calls it, and we could celebrate the concept of small is beautiful. Because for a while the thinking was we have to go big. We have to build big cities. We have to build big steel plants. Name of the game was economies of scale. Now I call it economies of cell, CELL. So as you could see, cellularism is a concept which is required, which will bring much more better harmony, preserve the culture, preserve the languages, preserve the ecosystem, and in the process develop a better relationship between human beings and the nature, which is obviously the need for the day. So that was my fifth point, and then I talked about a little bit. That needs a huge discussion. Perhaps we could do that in the Q&A session. That how do we transition? So I talked about, laid out some of the principles of transition from where we are today to the new world of cellularism. And there I think I talked about uh, 3 points, if I recall. The first point was about that we have to begin the experiments in some of the chosen villages and create the model, show to the world this is working, and then quickly scale it using the power of networking. That's one. But at the same time, we have to make sure the old model, be it the capitalistic model or socialistic model, we have to start chipping it away so that it becomes smaller and the influence reduces. It reminds me of Michelangelo chipping on a block of wood and a beautiful figure emerges. It came all of a sudden in my mind. So the chipping of the old system has to be done in an artistic way as the new system is born. And that would need some good thinking. And obviously, from such sessions like that, a lot of great ideas could come up. And the third point was education. I think the principle of the education has to be, which led to the concept of Vedic philosophy, that we have to pay a lot of attention on this development of a spiritual self, and the development of the right brain. So if you look at the Western education system, which has spread around the world for the last 500 years, not before, last 500 years, it has become very Cartesian, focused on development of the left brain. We want to be logical, we want to be rigorous, we want to be analytical, we want to be scientific, which is all good, it's not bad. But in the process, the right brain became a bit paralyzed. So I think we have to reactivate the right brain, which is the imaginative part of the brain, which is the creative part of the brain, which is the intuitive part of the brain. And if the right brain and left brain start harmonizing, we can create a better world. And for cellularism, being imaginative would be very important. Tagore used to talk about it all the time. Be imaginative, be fearless. In the process, you can unlock the inner conscience, which gives rise to new thoughts. If you read the Albert Einstein and Tagore dialogues, which took place in Berlin after Einstein received the Nobel Prize, as you know, Tagore received the Nobel Prize in 1913. Einstein received the Nobel Prize in 1915, I think. And so when Einstein received the Nobel Prize, Tagore was invited to give the keynote in Sweden. And after that, Albert Einstein invited Rabindranath Tagore to his home in Berlin. And there was a very interesting discussion which belongs in the context of cellularism. Einstein was talking about truth, where he believed Pythagoras' theorem is always true, whether there's a human being or not in the world. That Pythagoras' theorem is absolute. But Tagore took a point of view that it is not true. What we think is straight may not be straight, it will be curved. So the role of the human is as important to celebrate the concept of truth. And ultimately, Albert Einstein agreed with Rabindranath Tagore. And then he said, that's why I understand why they call you Guruji, Gurudev. So that is a very interesting dialogue, which is could be separate. But the point is, Indian philosophical base is very rich, and it is a good time to revive the philosophical base to give shape to new concept of economics, which the world could celebrate. This forum is for the world to become great. And Sam has, for years, talked about the redesigning the world, the famous book that he has written. And I think we all believe that we are living in a global community, and we also believe that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is, the whole world is one humanity after all, and the world is in crisis, and we need a new change. So that was the essence of what I think I discussed last time. I think I hope I was able to summarize it in 7 points that were made. Thank you very much.
Good. Okay, let's thank you. My apology for being late. I had a little issue with my browser. So sorry about that. Thanks, Priyamvada, for starting. Thanks, Partha, for joining us again. And thanks, Upendra, for getting me online. So let's start with the questions. I don't want to interfere, but I would at the end sometime like to talk about how do we prototype? Can we prototype one district, one area, and what would it take to prototype? I think prototyping may be a better way to show people what it is than sort of just having a conversation.
Absolutely.
And you talked about that, what do we do next? So we can have a conversation later on
Right.
prototyping, but let's go through the question, Premvada. You are muted.
Yeah. So, Premada,
Premvada,
what we
we
can
can't
do is
hear you.
let's start with the last week's question. Yeah, we can't hear you, Premada.
We can't hear you. Upendra, maybe you can.
Yes, I'll start.
Yeah.
I'm pulling the questions starting from the last time, which we couldn't address.
Right. Go ahead, Upendra, you can moderate it.
Yep. I'm pulling those. Give me a second, sir.
Premvada, reboot it. Reboot it.
I think she can hear us.
No.
All right.
That's why I'm just doing the sign. You can take fresh questions, Upendra.
Yeah, there are less fresh ones actually, since we started a little late. So we addressed the question around the marrying the blockchain and the cellularism in the last session. Partha, not sure if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, I think we could definitely. I think you know that leads to the question that Sam raised: how do we prototype? I think in prototyping we have to make sure that we bring into play the latest and the best technologies to make the cellular concept work in the local situation. So I think bringing blockchain into play would definitely improve the interactivity between different activities in a village. In fact, that's very important because when we are transitioned from the old model to the new model, there will be two kind of interactivity. One would be the interactivity between the villages and the new concept that we are developing vis-a-vis the interaction with the old concept. So the blockchain would facilitate that bridging so that all of a sudden we do not get disconnected because we are moving into a new model. We're not getting isolated. We are staying in touch with the previous S curve and the new S curve, and the blockchain provides that interactivity. So I look at blockchain as a science and art of interaction in an efficient way, and economics is about exchange. I add value, you add value, we exchange in the marketplace. And if that could be made efficient at the village level, so be it. I mean, that's what we want, so that people have more time to think and imagine, because we want to make day to day activities efficient so that people have the time to continue to enrich their culture and have the time to meditate, which is no interaction, but interaction with within. So I think if we want to interact with ourselves, we have to make the external interactions as efficient as possible, and blockchain provides that.
Very much aligned. Priyamvada, can you hear us?
So let me maybe fill the gap here while we are trying to sort things out.
Sure.
Partha, at the end of the day,
Hmm.
I want to understand, what do I make? Who will buy? What will they pay? Because the key to business is making something that somebody wants to buy. Economy is all about basically making something, whether it is product or service or whatever, that somebody is ready to buy and willing to pay the price. And that price is more than what I can spend to make it. So if we take a prototyping, let's say district of 2 million people, how do we organize that district saying so many people do so much? Construction,
Very good question.
energy.
Mhm.
Ultimately, we need to break that into, what do I do in that district that will sell? So my people will have enough earnings so you can build local college, local school, local hospital, local water tank, local, check dam. I think that's how I look at this in terms of prototyping.
Right. Let me reflect on it. Obviously, I do not have a perfect answer, but I think we have to evolve the answer over time. But Sam, when I think of, say, India 1,000 years ago, it was collection of small villages. Largely, there were hardly, maybe there were five or six or seven big towns, not big
Right, right.
cities. And in each village, there were economic activities. So some people were teachers, some people were craftsmen, some people were farmers, and there was exchange of products. And sometimes between villages, the next village, something would happen. I think we have to reimagine that concept in the context of today. So, for example, I know one district in Kerala. I went there recently, which was a place called Kottakkal. Now, Kottakkal is known for Ayurvedic treatment. And I was very impressed. It reminded me of Imari in Japan, that
Mhm,
people were coming from all over the world to take Ayurvedic treatment.
mhm.
They use the oil produced locally, they use the oil for massage, and the young men and women who were providing the treatment, they were extremely proud. They only spoke Malayalam, but they were extremely proud of the work that they were doing. So I think we have to identify as a first step, if we have chosen a district, what are the set of traditional skills which are either untapped or being used in a very marginal fashion? How to define it, how to give it a shape, modernize it, first enable exchange within that setting, and then market it all over the world. So I think there are two, three steps that we have to go through, but they've definitely, the first step is to be able to identify what are the unique features. And I can bet, I remember a discussion I had, I think the discussion was prompted by you. I went to visit the chief minister of Orissa, and a long time ago, Patnaik. And He asked me, Partha, the biggest challenge we have in Orissa, we have about 35% of the population who are scheduled caste or backward class, tribal class. He used the word tribal class. And I immediately said, that's your strategic advantage. He was surprised. I said, can you explain me more? I said, that look, those are the unique. You will try to understand their culture. Because if we look at their culture as backward because they're not westernized, we are doing disservice to what they have. But it is important for you to understand their culture and see some of their cultural traits, how they could be refined to create a product which you will sell all over the world. I don't know, maybe they're dancers. In Bengal, they have some baul music. In baul music, which is kind of a religious music which is in the western part of West Bengal, in Purulia district. Now, recently, their movement has started. They're playing in Paris, they're playing in London, baul music. And there was again a regrowth in interest in baul music, for example. So I think we have to understand the cultures of each of the villages or the district that you have chosen. Maybe there are 10 villages there, and then see how we can package them. And that part is not happening.
Yeah, but I call these clusters. In India we have roughly 200 main clusters like brassware, bamboo, furniture, pharmaceutical, Ayurveda, food processing. By cluster, I mean industry around that idea.
Right.
Like brassware in Moradabad has 500,000 employees. 500,000 people in Moradabad work on brassware. That's their core competence. But I'm going to go one step beyond and say if I have a district with 2 million people,
Hmm.
like in India, let's say there are 700 districts roughly, 1.4 billion people, 2 million per district. Simple math.
Hmm.
Okay, it could be little high, little low, doesn't matter. For 2 million people, how many jobs I can create in agriculture to feed them, in education to educate them, in health to provide universal health, in construction to build housing,
And infrastructure.
in environment to protect environment, in energy, infrastructure, tourism. I'm going to look at that and then say what is core competence.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Otherwise, we will think that core competence will do everything. It doesn't work that way. Core competence is an important part, but the basic needs will require large number of people to work on food, health, education, housing, environment, infrastructure, energy, governance, judiciary. How do I take that population of 2 million people and say, okay, out of 2 million, workforce is only 700,000
Mhm.
because there are children, there are older people, there are some women. No one has really done that carefully, according to me. If they have, I am not aware of it. I shouldn't say no one has done it because there is always somebody who has done something interesting, you know. But what I'm saying is, it's not in,
No, I think
of course, in the public domain. Yeah.
I think you have touched on a very important point. So you talked about the most important is food, health, education. So that develops the humanity. Where I feel we have gone wrong, we talk about it, but we talk about it top down.
Yeah.
That we think we have an answer, we try to go and impose.
Yeah, but I need local teacher. I need local doctor. I need local carpenter. I need local plumber.
Exactly. And that itself creates the jobs. And then you create a market mechanism to exchange. And
True.
you're right. And then we say, okay, what are the skills and qualities of the soil in all the vegetation that grows there? How that could be packaged.
Yeah, but let's take 2 million people and say, okay, of 2 million people,
Yeah.
So many are kids. Okay, so they should be worrying about education. So many are older people, so they should be worried about health
Hmm.
and all. So many are women, not that all women work. Okay. Then you say out of 2 million, there are, pick a number, 700,000
Who are adult
real
work?
workers. Okay. Then you say of the 700,000, how many we want for teachers? How many for health workers? How many in forest? How many in field? How many in industry? And then work it out in such a way that at least local production is done locally. Of course, when you want to buy a cell phone, you got to go out. You're not going to make cell phone.
No.
You're not going to make car. Every district won't be able to make a car,
Oh, no.
but they can make a bicycle maybe.
Yeah.
They can fix a bicycle. So you got to approach it very differently. Today, the salary of the teacher is decided by Delhi. When we were kids in 40s and 50s, salary of the teacher was decided by local community.
Right.
Local community hired a teacher. Teacher was not hired by government. Okay, because community knows what they can pay. What do they need? A teacher in Gujarat may be paid different than teacher in Orissa, may be paid different than teacher in Kerala. Okay. So I think in the process of top-down approach, we have created a huge problem. We really need, well, like you're saying, bottom-up approach.
Hmm.
And I would really like to understand more about a prototyping a district. For 2 million people, how many teachers we need? How many teachers in school, college, vocational training? How many nurses we need? How many doctors we need? How many hospitals we need? No one has really done this carefully. As a result, you have one big hospital, AIMS India, and you have 10 more AIMS or whatever, and then 700 districts don't have enough.
Yeah. Anything.
Okay, because I need my health facility locally. Doesn't help me if I have to go to Delhi every time I sneeze. you know. So this is the real exercise: is to take a typical district and say, this is basic need, this is governance, judiciary, security, and all that need, and this is core competence.
Right. And then connect the two to create the right.
All three have to be connected, saying how many people we need to do what, and how will they be paid, and who will buy this service. Okay, who will pay tax, and how
Absolutely.
much tax I can collect. Okay,
I fully agree with you. We have to work on that. Let me see whether I can pull a team together to do that study.
that is the key. And then you can say, okay, we need to increase maybe land tax, maybe we need to increase property tax, maybe we need to decrease school fees, maybe we need to uh, get collaboration with next district on
Yeah.
something. See, I would rather first think of collaboration with the next district and
Absolutely.
not with immediately America and Soviet Union and Brazil.
Exactly.
Okay,
Absolutely.
see, if I want to learn how to provide better education, I'll go to Kerala.
Yeah.
If I want to learn how to provide better health services, I'll go to Kerala and learn from them and not go abroad for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because they have shown it.
They've shown it. Absolutely.
So, how do we learn from best practices within the country? Yeah. To me, this is the key. What you have said, what Arun Myra said, what I have said, all of these things basically need to be translated into a prototype. Saying, here is a district of 2 million people. Now tell me how many teachers I need. I don't think anybody can tell me for 2 million people how many police I need. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. How big of a prison I should have.
Absolutely.
This is stuff like this. Okay.
Absolutely.
And not that you are going to be right, but you'll just create boundaries and say, I need, maybe 30,000 people growing foods. Maybe I need 50,000 people running restaurants. See, maybe I need, 5,000 people running hotels. Where is this information?
No, nothing like that is there. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
you tried looking for it.
And it is one-on-one management. I don't think it's very complicated. If you can't answer these questions, it's a non-starter. So we are all trying to be Brahmins of the problem and not Sudras of the problem.
Yeah,
Okay, we all need to really look at Sudra's job, saying on the ground, what are the realities? What do I need to do on the ground? How do I sweep? And not how do I give a mantra? How many sweepers we need? How many people in the garbage collection for 2 million people? So trying to identify 50, 60 jobs, then it's not very complicated. And not that it's going to solve the problem, but it will give us some dimension.
yeah. To serve 2 million people and for 2 million people as a resource. The two sides, supply and demand. How do we structure it?
Because there are countries with 2 million people in this world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not long time ago, Singapore was in that mode.
Yeah.
About 1980s, Singapore was 2.2.
Yep. So for 2 million people, how do we design economic model? And then we look at their border districts. What do they exchange with their border districts? What do they exchange out of the state? What do they exchange abroad? Then there are three dimensions. Okay. So if I'm a district in Orissa and in my district there are 4 border districts, I say, how do I relate to these four border districts? What is their core competence? How can I supply them something they need? How can they supply to me something I need?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then you go to the state. Okay. But today, everybody wants to go to export from every district. Okay. And it's a waste of travel, waste of, energy.
And they do not have ultimately a product to sell.
Exactly. So the whole thing is a mess.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would personally really like to understand, learn.
The 2 million. I think that's a good word you've given.
Since Rajiv Gandhi's time, one day he asked few of us, including Dr. Ashok Ganguly, saying, what does it take to create a job in a field? So we did a study. We found out that it takes a lot of investment to create one job in telecom. Takes a lot of investment to create one job in railway. Takes much more investment to create one job in agriculture because you need land. If you don't have a land, you can't create job in agriculture. Okay. So we took all these 30, 40 jobs, banking. What does it take to create one job in banking? How much investment? The lowest investment to create one new job was in construction.
That's a good point.
Okay. All you have to do is go create the dirt, make the brick. Okay. Have a small piece of land or, upgrade your home, get better room. Then it takes very little investment to create job in services like carpenter, blacksmith, plumber, because you just need bunch of tools in a bag and you are ready to work. Okay. But you say, I'm going to create many jobs in manufacturing. Not easy. You need a lot of investment. So that's another side of job creation. How much money it requires in that area to create one new job? I need that figure. Do I need 2 lakh rupees to create a new job in hospital? Okay. Or I need very little investment to create a job in herbal medicine or, body massage service.
Body massage,
Yeah, see, so you got to go through all that.
Absolutely.
But no one has really done that carefully, according to me. Again, I shouldn't say no one. My apology.
No, I agree with you. Once I was using, see, another problem we used to see in India. Long time ago, I was talking a lot about Singapore and Japan. Immediate reaction was, Partha, Singapore is a small country. I said, "Well, why can't we look at India, a collection of 100 Singapores or 1,000 Singapores, and make each district Singapore?"
Just have 700 districts, like 700 companies, like 700 countries, like 700 communities.
Exactly.
Okay. And each community says, what can I do for myself? My food, I got to do it. Some people will eat roti, some people will eat bajra, and some people will eat rice. Okay. So that's okay. That local food. We respect that. Some people will celebrate this festival, other people will celebrate some other festival. So that festival economy will depend on what festival they have.
Exactly.
Yeah. But until you go at a district level or roughly 2 million people,
Big level. Yeah, distributed.
then we may find that 2 million is not good enough. We need 10 million. So we can take 4 or 5 districts together. Whatever it is, I believe India needs to be divided into 700 districts as we have for economic
And this
understanding.
is district-centered economic development as opposed to Delhi-centered.
Right. District central government we don't have. We have no elected government at district level. We have elected government at central level. District is run by an IAS officer. In America, my village is run by a mayor. Okay. He's elected. In India, city is not run by an elected officer. City is run by a bureaucrat.
Hmm.
It's a fundamental problem.
That's a good point. Absolutely.
Okay. Every city has a commissioner who is more powerful than the mayor. Mayor is just a ceremonial
There's
person.
a term called mayor in India, but
Yeah, but they have no power. They have no financial power. They have nothing. Okay. Their term is sometimes 1 or 2 years. Okay. It's more of a decoration. But these are the things to do. If we can spend collective time as a group, with you leading Partha, and say, how do we create economy for 2 million people? How many teachers, how many doctors, how many nurses, how many engineers, whatever, and we won't be right, but we'll have sense of direction.
absolutely. And first, you want to be directionally right as opposed to precisely wrong. Absolutely.
And, like, look at the housing shortage in India. It's a massive problem and it's a massive opportunity. Okay. And it requires minimum investment. But you can't,
Affordable.
yeah, but you can't have housing like one in Mumbai and Delhi, where every apartment is 5 crores.
Hmm.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, in villages, better homes and better roof on top and not have, uh,
Leaking roofs.
yeah. Okay. When I see people sitting around twiddling their thumb, I said, why can't they just go inside home and start building better home for themselves? But nobody has told them how to do it. Lot of youth in village should be really improving homes of the people. Yeah. There's a lot of work there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in America, as you know, there's a culture of home improvement which people do themselves.
I built my own basement, 50 years ago. Okay, my younger brother and I just went to the shop, bought the wood, plugs and all that, and we built the whole thing ourselves. We've never done it before. It's not a rocket science. You learn, you make some mistakes. But we built complete basement. We got 2x4 wood, measured it, nailed it, put drywall, put electricity, put all the pipes, put the air conditioned duct, okay, taped it,
Absolutely.
painted it, Yeah, great experience.
And this is such a common culture in this country.
Yeah, it's a great fun to do it also.
Yeah, this culture has to be brought in our country.
But how can I live in a house which I don't want to upgrade myself? But that concept doesn't exist. You would have a miserable home. You'll be sitting outside 3 hours a day twiddling your thumb. I'll give you one simple example, which is funny. I had a friend of mine, Mehtas. They're all top class Gujarati Brahmins. And in their toilet, they needed latch, latch to close it. Okay. They never installed latch. So anybody who went to toilet would constantly cough all the time. So you know that somebody's inside. These are all college graduates. So they told me this, that for 15 years they didn't have a latch. No one ever thought, but they're all used to it, saying, okay, you just have to cough inside. People know you're inside. That's the mindset. Okay. Nobody said, hey, it's my job to go get the latch and install it. For that, I don't need a carpenter. I don't need an engineer. I
Yes,
just do it myself.
screwdriver and a couple of screws.
That's the work of a OBC. I'm not going to do that work. You see, I don't do that work. That's the whole mentality. It's an extreme example, but the point is we have to learn to do things ourselves. And if we take this 2 million people model, we'll find out how many people we need to, build something, collect garbage, teach, provide health service, how many judges, how many lawyers, how many, bicycle repair guy, everything. Okay. And that becomes a model. Okay. I would love to do that. If I had time and if I was younger, I would do this, but I don't have time. But this is a very important thing. If some young people can put together, if we can put together a team under your direction, Partha, to do this.
I would love to. Let me.
And now with AI, a lot of information is easily available. Let's ask AI, how many teachers I need for 1,000 people? Okay. How many nurses I need for 500 people or whatever? How many police? Yeah. How many security people? But you got to ask right questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's what they say about AI. AI is good as long as you know.
See, in this group, if some people want to volunteer with you, Premvada.
Yes, sir.
Then we can just put together a group of 5 people or whatever you all decide.
Yeah.
Under Partha.
I'd love to work on that.
Okay.
Yep.
Partha leadership, we come up with a plan for a district of 2 million people as a model.
Yeah.
At least let's create a template, sir. We can start with creating a template basically, which can be scaled up and down. And
understand it.
Yep.
We need to understand. We don't know today how many primary teachers we need for 200
million. And what are those driving factors basically? There could be some uniqueness to each unique district, but we need to start calling out those parameters.
No, to me, core competence is separate.
Yeah.
We can't hang our hat just on core competence.
Mm-hmm.
We got to hang our hat on basic needs. Okay. Where are the basic needs? And you need job to eat, live comfortably, drink, take care of health, and educate. Then we can say, okay, what are core competence? Partha, do I make sense?
Absolutely. And I would look forward to Premvada, if you can.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions now that we can hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Sorry, my apology for taking too much time.
Oh, it was very useful actually. It was very useful. I can see the comments. It was very useful conversation.
So can you hear me or no? Still you can't?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about the earlier glitch. So there's a question from Sair. He's asking about Crony capitalism is global problem with roots everywhere, destroying all that is local. So how a local village can fight a world level crony capitalist?
Well, you know, I personally believe it may sound a bit theoretical at the beginning, but I don't think it's theoretical. When you have something superior and when it gives birth based on truth and honesty, that power can always uh, destroy something which is not working. But it is a fact that crony capitalism, as you have termed, has become extremely strong. It is very certain way seductive because if it works for you, it works beautifully. If it doesn't work for you, it kills you. But if you have a better system which looks better, I think ultimately the better one would win. But it would absolutely right. It would not be easy. That's why I agree with what Sam said earlier. We have to create a prototype, 2 million or 2.5 million people, how create a success story. And then people I personally believe people like to be honest, people like to be truthful, people like to serve. But in last 200 years, we have created a model where the greed has driven the development of capitalism, not the creed. And I think we have to focus on the creed, the inner integrity, and that again takes us back to education, so that we have to remind people that any economic activity which is based on truthful expression of the self, Atma, and that will always be the winner. So I think we have to give that confidence to people. But again, having said that, it will not be easy. It's a very good question. But unless we try, we will never know. As opposed to getting seduced by crony capitalism. And we are in a seduction mode right now. We have to move
Uh,
from seduction to reduction.
Absolutely. There is another question from last week's session about migration. I don't have the member's name, but he was asking about how can cellularism as a concept help. There is migration from a lot of rural areas to the cities, and that is causing an imbalance in the cities all throughout India and many more countries as well. So, how can we use the concept of cellularism, to uh, have a balance in between
Absolutely.
the cities. Yeah.
Cellularism itself, by concept, makes the village or the cell attractive.
Bolo.
So there will be reverse migration if we do it right.
That
Why
be
do you
great.
want to live in a dirty city on the 50th floor of a building, which becomes very hot during the summer, very unstable during the winter, as opposed to living in a very beautiful green environment with a pond next, as long as we were discussing earlier, the services are available: education, health, sanitation, uh, judiciary system. You will always prefer to live in an environment which is green, which is clean, and where you can connect with the local people with ease. So I think cellularism actually would help to create the reverse migration. The cities would become, I think, if cellularism work after 100 years, the relics of the past. Why do you want to live in a high rise in the middle of bricks where you can live in a very comfortable home? And that's where I agree with Sam. We have to focus on home building and home building based on our own technology. Why have to use concrete when we can use bamboos? But use the bamboos in a fashion which will work for the environment, which is stable, which is comfortable. And I've seen that. If you go to Japan, look at the Japanese construction. The typical Japanese house is made out of bamboos and wood. Very comfortable, very easy to built artistically. And that is the art of a village.
Um, Absolutely. There is another
And
question
if I
from
may add, Premada, and let me
Sorry.
know if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So again, if you look at it today, and again going back to your point, Premada, let's say there is a district and that is producing a capacity of let's say 2,000 engineers every year. Today, everyone might be going to a different city to find the work, but again, going back to the Sam's point, if you are doing this study, and this is what is special about this district, we may want to bring those companies or start, some delivery center out of that place itself, rather than, having pushing everybody to go towards, a bigger city and leaving that city itself. Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, both of you. There's a question from Anurag. He's asking whether how can we transform Indian states, like he's mentioning Karnataka and Himachal in his example. How can we use cellularism and AI together as a unique way of empowerment? I'll just share the question on screen.
No, I think AI would be helping cellularism because AI is going to serve and provide the intelligence to each of the ecosystem, each of the cells, if I use the word, depending upon the unique requirements of the cell. As Sam and we were discussing, that when we are talking about the 2 million people district, a particular district in Kerala might have a very different requirement compared to a district in Himachal versus a district in Kashmir or Mizoram. But AI provides that knowledge where we could take an idea which is working in, say, Karnataka, how that could be tailored for a village in Mizoram and vice versa, while retaining the unique characteristics of both the localities. So I think AI is definitely a force that we must use to develop the concept of cellularism. In fact, that will help the speeding up of converting ourselves from a semi-capitalism, semi-socialistic world that we live, or unknown world that we live, to something a bit more human-centric world.
Absolutely. Sam, sir, would you like to have a take on the IT part of the question? Uh,
Yeah, I think IT right now is in state of flux, according to me. You know, the kind of emphasis we had in the past on software and service jobs, AI is going to have a huge impact on it. So I won't need millions and millions of software people,
That's right.
but I would need different kind of people to take advantage of AI. Okay. So I would not look at IT as a category anymore, but I might look at AI as a category, looking at the
okay.
future. I would say how many new jobs we are going to create in AI, what kind of these jobs are going to be. Yeah, I would start thinking about that now and not hang on to IT, IT, IT. Fine. Whatever is happening will happen for a while. But I got to look forward. And if I'm going to look forward, I got to see how am I going to create creative jobs in IT? No, not in IT, sorry, in AI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, Thank you, sir. So one of the questions always India is facing currently is the value of a worker. So how the concept of this new economy which we have been discussing, how will we make sure that the worker is compensated adequately, which is currently
Community
lacking?
community will have to decide that. Okay. Community will have to say that, look, I can pay so much to nurse and I can pay so much to AI person and I can pay so much to judge and so much to teacher. Community will have to decide that.
Yeah.
Right now, government is deciding. Everybody is comparing themselves with salary in Bangalore. Okay, which is not reasonable. Okay, you can't. Everybody wants more than what they deserve, which is human nature. Okay, but they don't realize that the teacher in small little village may have a different salary than the teacher in Delhi. Or a software guy in Bangalore would be paid differently than the software guy in some little uh, town in Northeast. Possible. Okay. That's why what Partha is saying is important. We need to focus on local. See, today, all the information, surveys, and all that become a yardstick. And everybody says, oh, if Bangalore guy is getting, 2 lakh rupees a month, how come I'm not getting? You're not in Bangalore. You're not doing the same job. Okay. So,
Good point.
And sir, there is also, like, I would just both of you, the concept of the sanitation workers in India, they are facing like tremendous hardships, and the environment they're working in is completely like we can't even imagine. And it's, as you said, sir, it's particularly based from certain community, like the caste. Only those
you got
people.
to automate sanitation. If I had a chance to design a robot, I will design a robot for sanitation first. I don't want fellow Indian or fellow human being to go in somebody's shit and gutter to clean. It's just not acceptable to me. Okay. So why can't we design robots and all that to clean things first? See, for example, in India, whenever at least 20 years ago, I used to notice that to clean street, either you have a lady with a jhadu or a man with a jhadu, and then next thing is big truck imported from America. There is nothing in between. Why can't I have jhadu connected to scooter? Why can't I have rickshaw that is vacuuming the street? Nobody has designed that equipment because Western world doesn't need it. Indians don't design. I would like to redesign all our tools.
Absolutely.
Okay, why can't I have a auto rickshaw guy attached to in the back, vacuum cleaner and brushes and all, and just drive auto rickshaw and clean up the street? Nobody thinks about it. Nobody does it.
Absolutely. And see,
Simple thing.
Yeah.
I worked 20 years ago with the Institute of Design to develop a two-wheeler emergency van. I said, look, four-wheeler cannot get through in Indian traffic. So if I had a patient who was dying, he'll die on the road because of traffic jam. Can I develop a two-wheeler ambulance? So one guy, it may not be the 100% perfect. Okay. But I can have one guy sleeping there and one guy driving and one guy standing there to, give him oxygen or whatever it is, and then you can drive through quickly. Never developed. Okay, because Western people don't do that, so we also don't do that.
Okay.
See, that's the key. The couple of Sam, could I make a couple of points?
Yeah.
Firstly, the sanitation, I fully agree with Sam that we should develop
our own equipment
system. But the first point is we should also learn. In Japan, in Switzerland, in America, people clean their own toilets.
Yeah.
So first we have to learn how to clean our own toilets, then we will use the toilet properly. Clean our own roads, clean our own,
house, clean our house and clean our neighborhood. You go to all these rich places in Baroda where I used to live. All these great bungalows are wonderful inside. You look outside, it's garbage all over. They don't care.
Exactly.
So how has the West handled this problem? Because they even have, I mean, every country faces
pride
this.
in work and no caste system. No caste
pride
system.
in work and no egos. The West is.
So you have to clean your garbage. In India, it is Brahminian work and Sudra's work. Everything is divided into two classes. People love to do Brahminian work. Nobody wants to do Sudra's work. Okay, Sudra's work is cleaning. Okay.
Once I was in a factory in Japan, first time, Sam, and I was so impressed. It looked like an operation theater.
Yeah. You can eat on the floor.
How do you guys keep it so clean? And what his answer was? We
Ah,
never make it dirty. We put the place in the right thing,
yeah,
things in the right place. Why should it be? So, when Sam was talking about the jharu, the lady with the jharu, or the man with the jharu, okay, we need that job. But the point is, why is so much of garbage on the road? Why were we? I was recently in Hyderabad going from the airport to the city. Beautiful highways has been built, but both sides is full of garbage,
yeah.
plastic bottles. Now, who are throwing these plastic bottles? Is the educated people who are moving in cars. So I think we have a fundamental problem because of absence of cellularism. We have disconnected with the nature, and we
We have a
think
clean India mission
Absolutely.
for 10 years. Has India been cleaned?
No. It's just a way of
We have
collecting
spent,
more
we have
tax.
spent more money on advertising Clean India than designing new equipment. Okay. I must give you this example again. Sorry to talk about personal stuff. But when I became chairman of India's Telecom Commission, I went to my office for the first day. As soon as I get in the office, in 10 minutes, a guy comes in, says, "Sir, this is the key to your bathroom, chairman's bathroom." Okay. I say, "I don't want that key. I want to use public bathroom." He said, "No, no, 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 no. There is a special bathroom for chairman of Telecom Commission. You have to use that." I said, "No, I don't want to use that. Okay, I want to use public bathroom because I know public bathroom is a junk. My bathroom is clean." There was a havoc. Everybody says, chairman doesn't want to use his own bathroom. Okay.
there was a lot of discussion on that.
Then I invited all the cleaning people. There were about 40 cleaning people in the building of 8, 9 floors in the boardroom. And they were frightened to death. They thought we are going to be fired by this new chairman. Okay. So they had never been invited to a boardroom. So when I go in the room, everybody's stuck to the wall as far as they can get from the chair. I said, "Please sit." So nobody had ever asked them to sit on the chair in the boardroom. They won't sit. I said, "Please sit. If you don't sit, we can't start a meeting." So they sit. As soon as they sit, tea comes, biscuit comes, and they are puzzled. What the hell is going on here? These are janitors. Okay, so I said, "Look, guys, I need your help in cleaning the building. The building is not up to my standard. Drapes have dirt, chairs are broken." So I said, "I want to send 2 teams, one to Taj Mahal Hotel and one to Sheraton Hotel in Delhi. You go meet with their people who clean, look at their tools." And they were shocked that somebody would do this. You know, we got to a point, we created 2 teams, sent them to the 5-star hotel. They came back, they said, "We need this equipment, this equipment." We got all that. Building was totally clean, just like a 5-star hotel for a while. That's what you have to do. You have to give them pride in their job. You can't treat them like dirt. They were treated like dirt. And one day, one lady was standing there. I said, "Why are you standing here?" She said, "Sir, we have no place to sit, cleaning people." I said, "Okay, on every floor, put 4 chairs, 2 on this side, 2 on this side, order 34 chairs so these ladies can sit when they have free time." What does it take? It takes only sentiment. Okay. That's what is missing. Sorry about this.
No, that's a very good point. Very good point. Because,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. No, no, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I think let's move to the next question.
Yeah, so there's another question asking how can the cellularism manage the challenge of global disruptive economy?
Well, the global disruption is happening for 3 reasons, right? Number one is because we have lost connection with nature. Cellularism is about connection with nature. Se- Global challenges are happening because of human migration. because we have not taken care of where people live in villages. They move, become barren, they're unconnected with the nature, they go to the cities. Cellularism will reverse that trend. The third problem is that some countries have become very powerful, some others are weak. The countries which are powerful, they call the shots. The weak countries have to agree or disagree. If they disagree, they get punished. If they agree, they have to work under the rules of the strong country. Cellularism is empowering the 2 million people that we are talking about in each district, is about empowering the local to create their own economy. And if they can celebrate excellence, promote product, Sam was talking about brasswork in Muradabad, silk work in Murshidabad, the fermentation work in Aurangabad. Whichever bad you go, there are specific skills. But what we have to do then, that's the role of the people who are living globally, to help the locals to produce things which are of the global standards. That's what happened in Japan. The porcelain that I was talking about, MRI, or gold leaf work in Kanazawa, or fermentation work in Hokkaido. So that way, what we are doing is we are on one side celebrating the local ecology. At the same time, not getting affected by the global disruption, we have a role to play because we have products which are unique, which are celebrated all over the world, be it Ayurvedic medicine, be it massages, be it Murshidabad silk, or be it the brass work from Muradabad. So I think it actually helps. We should take advantage of the disruption to promote the newism.
Absolutely. So before we end the show, there's a last question from Srinivasan about advice about legacy jobs to move on the AI era. How can they align themselves to the current scenario?
I think Sam would have a better picture of that, but let me take a crack because yes, 2 days ago I gave a lecture on this subject at Bentley University in the Boston area. This was the subject: what would AI do to jobs that we know of, and the jobs that might emerge in the future? Let's go back 100 years ago. When the world was at the cusp of introducing internal combustion engine. Earlier, 100 years earlier, steam engine. Lot of the work which used to be done by people got moved to these engines. But in the process, new work got created. In fact, more work got created around the internal combustion engine era. But we do not need the horses anymore. We do not need the people who were uh, driving the horse carriages. We need a different set of people. So I think we have to be prepared not to hold on to the legacy jobs. Legacy jobs will change. Good, as Sam was talking about. Yes, the cleaning the toilets, we need robots. Let's not hold on to the jobs. But the people who will get released will be quite a number of people, maybe 100 million people who is our dirt, cleaning our dirt. We have to think of how to retrain them that they could participate in the knowledge economy 2.0 or AI economy as it's evolving. So that's where the challenge of education. How do we educate on one side, being conscious of the local environment? Because if someone is growing up in a place where a lot of Ayurvedic medicine is growing, I do want to ensure they understand Ayurveda. But at the same time, they understand how the world of AI would create new jobs, destroy old jobs. So that's why I think we have to focus on education of the new world that is emerging. And that's where, again, cellularism has an advantage.
Okay, if I may, first of all, I may not have good answer, but I'm going to think with you. So don't take me too seriously. This revolution is very different. I believe AI revolution is very different from electricity, machine, internet. Machine revolution created more jobs because you could use machine to do more things. All other revolutions, while going on, population was increasing. This time, there are two factors. One, population in most of the advanced countries is decreasing, is old. So you got to take that into the formula in a big way. And two, AI is going to basically eliminate all of the routine jobs, form filling. And the other day, I went to a new doctor for something, and I had to fill in all the forms, 5 forms to be filled. Okay. Took me 20 minutes. AI will say, look, I don't need to fill these forms. I don't need to collect these forms. Okay. All my information is available on the internet. So AI is going to eliminate a lot of routine jobs in this world.
Routine jobs,
There
right.
are too many routine jobs accumulated over a period of time because of inefficiency. I mean, look at all the jobs in government of India. File pushing. You don't need a file. Okay, you don't need Nadawali file at all. Okay, but you have people who are, putting file, carrying files, storing files. Okay,
Filing files.
yeah, you go to courts and you look at the legal files. I mean, it's 14 feet high. You need a ladder to find somebody's case file. Okay, it's all gone. It's over. So AI is going to have a much bigger impact on job market than we ever had. And we don't yet know how to use AI to do things we have never done before. See, all of the technologies of the past were used to do things we were doing before. Machine to do it faster, cheaper, better. Same with IT. But AI is different. AI is saying, look, I not only can do faster, bigger, better, but I can do things you have never done before. What is it that I have never done before? So, if I was to look at as a young man today, if I was in my 20s, I would probably say I don't need to be in software business as an engineer, or I don't need to really study this. Okay. Maybe I don't need to go to college. Okay. But I need to learn to comprehend properly, read, write, communicate. These are the skills that people don't have. Even a good engineer is a bad communicator. They have no soft skills. So in AI world, I would focus a lot more on soft skills
Right. Absolutely.
and learn how to ask questions. Just to give an example, there is a major conference on fusion in Chicago on Monday. Okay. Now, fusion is an energy of the future and all that. So I've been, when I was on the board at Fermi Lab, I took a lot of interest in learning. Though I'm supposed to be a physicist, I don't know enough about physics. And I'm always curious. So I got involved on fusion, and there is a major meeting. So the head of the meeting, chairman of Midwest Fusion Council, spoke to me a few weeks ago and said, Sam, would you come to the meeting? I said, I would be delighted. Now I'm supposed to go there Monday morning. So I said, let me go to AI and get educated. So I started asking questions to AI. Fusion, this, that, and all. Finally, I said, can you give me a table which compares fusion, fission, solar, wind, coal, average energy? Give me a matrix. I tell you, it took 5 minutes for AI, but after 5 minutes, it gave me a matrix. I can take that matrix with me and I'll be comfortable in participating because it gives all comparisons, cost of solar, cost of this, cost of fusion, when will fusion become reality? I could have never done this. Even with Google search, They will give me a bunch of documents that I'll have to read. AI read it for me, but I had to know what question to ask.
Very important. Questioning, absolutely.
Nobody teaches us
How to ask questions.
what question to ask. See, I tell many times that what to say, how much to say, who to say is a piece of art. Nobody teaches you that. How to talk. Sometimes people wind up saying too much. Sometimes they wind up saying wrong things. So with AI, you will have to learn to ask the right questions. Okay? And that education is very different. I don't need to learn all the stuff I learned in college anymore. It's a waste of time sometimes. I need ability to think properly. I need ability to ask right questions. But if I had an option, I would say you make me a self-learner by the time I get out of the high school. And then I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to decide what I want to do. I will use AI to learn to do that. And I'll work in the field and learn more. And I'll have multiple jobs. I cannot have one job anymore in the past, like in the past. I cannot be just civil engineer. I may have to be an architect, civil engineer, and something else also. You will need multiple careers. Today's education is designed for one vertical. That phase is over. With AI, I do not need one vertical. I need horizontal.
Multiple discipline, horizontal, absolutely.
Okay, so everything is going to change, but nobody is willing to accept this because everybody still wants to pay $200,000 to get an MBA. Okay, because it's prestigious. Okay, Dhirubhai Ambani never had an MBA.
Nor did Thomas.
There are many people, but that doesn't mean you don't need an MBA. Don't get me wrong. Okay, but the point is, in AI age, you got to think very differently. What does education mean? I gave this talk in Dominican Republic, and I said, even in medicine, the biggest challenge in medicine, according to me, is to make me responsible for my health. Today, people are not responsible for their health. They eat garbage, they, have overweight, they have diabetes, they drink too much, they smoke, and then they say, I have a health problem. Wait a minute, you have created it.
Same as
So
we talked about
so
toilet.
AI is going to say, hey, wait a minute, you take care of your health. Doctor comes later. Yeah. So I think in AI age, we'll have to think very differently. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, both
Sorry,
of you.
Partha, I spoke too much today. I didn't want
No.
I have to stop in another 2 minutes. I've got 11:30.
Yeah, I want to apologize for
No,
dominating this conversation, but
No, thank you both of you for such an enriching conversation. Just people
one
in
thing
the
before we go up, Premvada, let's set up this group with Partha chairing it. You identify 4 or 5 people to work with him, and let's connect again in 2-3 weeks to do this chart of 2 million community. What are the jobs? I'm going to list all the jobs and send it to you guys.
Yeah, there are some people in the comments asking where to contact, like where should they, if they want to
I'll
join.
give you my email right now.
You and Upendra coordinate with
Okay.
Partha. Partha would be the chairman,
Yeah,
or coordinator, whatever you want to call him. Boss,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call him. Okay.
no,
Yes.
no.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's do
Thank you
that.
very much.
Partha, I want you to deliver.
We will. We all want to deliver. Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Very well done.
Thanks. Yeah.